I want to bring in Congressman Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat from Texas, to talk about the battle over defense spending. Congressman, so what should we make of this defense bill out of the House? What does it tell us? What does it tell you about GOP priorities?
It tells me, number one, that there is a party that claims that they care about things such as our national defense and claims that they care about our national security overall and claims that they care about our service members. But when it comes down to it, out of the over 1,500 amendments that were submitted, they did not want to submit amendments that had anything to do with actually bettering the lives of our service members. And in fact, many of us would argue that the amendments that they submitted, the ones that made this bill not be the bipartisan bill that it was as it came out of committee, those amendments were submitted just to hurt our service members. When we listen to members call other service members or call members of Congress colored people, something tells me that they actually need a course in DEI. They need to understand what diversity is about, and they don't. And to have that be a former service member that actually made that statement while he was on the House floor, it tells us that actually we need to make more investments in DEI. And that's not even something that we were pushing for. We were pushing for the very basics because we as House Democrats actually want to govern. We as House Democrats are trying to keep everyone safe in this country. Whether you're a D, a R, or an I, we are fighting for common grounds and common sense. But unfortunately, common sense ain't so common with certain people in the House.
You talked about the fact that there's sort of an alternative reality where you could actually have members of Congress, including Republican members, introducing ideas that would actually help service members. I want to read you this from the Washington Post. The bill also, quote, authorizes a 5% base pay increase for military personnel and expanded support for their families through housing improvements and broader access to child care, health care, education benefits. I mean, how will holding up this bill impact military families?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, it's a huge sacrifice. We don't tell people that you have to go into the military at this point. These are people that are actually wanting to serve their country. And the very least that we can do is give them the basic access. But at the same time, you can't say that we want to give over here and take from other service members. You can't say to women that are serving our military and serving the military proudly, say, you know what? If for some reason, which we are aware of an unfortunate rape culture that does exist sometimes when it comes to serving in the military, it is unfortunate to say that if a woman is pregnant, then no, we don't want her to have access to the things that she needs to have access to, whether that's funds for traveling to a state that is better on health care for a woman and reproductive health or not. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, the deal is you have already said what you had to say when you put those amazing justices on the Supreme Court, all right? So you have the Dobbs decision. You said that you wanted to leave this to the states. This is the first step that they have taken towards a national abortion ban. What it is telling us is that we continually cannot trust the words that come out of the Republicans' mouths, because every time they open their mouth, they are lying. And let me tell you, if we want to make sure that we have a stable economy, then we go ahead and we push forward with what is bipartisan. We don't decide to stoke these conspiracy theories, which is essentially what we have in this bill. The whole DEI conspiracy, the whole issue that trans people are somehow the new boogeyman. Like, it's nothing but conspiracies, and we don't have people that are focusing on logic and what makes sense for us. That is why a number of these crazy amendments came out of my crazy state, from people out of Texas.
Let's focus then on some good news we saw this week here. The Biden administration rolling out new student loan relief. It'll impact about 800,000 borrowers. This applies to people who've made monthly payments for 20 years and still haven't settled their debt. What more can be done to ease this burden following the Supreme Court's decision to block Biden's wider debt forgiveness plan?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks to the Biden administration and Secretary Cardona, who is working day in and day out. Essentially, once we knew that this was in trouble, the administration didn't just sit on their hands and say, well, maybe the Supreme Court will get it right. They've been kind of getting it wrong more often than not, right? And so this was an administration that was wanting to be prepared. And so right now, there is going to be public hearings because there are additional things that the Secretary of Education wants to do. So I would say make sure that you are paying attention, make sure that you are staying in touch with your members of the House as well as the Senate. Make sure that you're staying on top of this because this isn't it for this administration. This is just the beginning. They will continue to fight for everyday working people to make sure that they are not burdened by student loan debt.
Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, thank you so much for getting us started.